that you're in a somewhat stable and peaceful state of mind. We can start off our day, our night, our moment of success or failure. Whatever life is throwing at us in this moment, we can start again. We can begin again with a deep breath in and a deep breath out. A deep breath in and a deep breath out. And immediately when we start to practice meditation, actually even I've found, being quite experienced in meditation, even thinking about meditating, even thinking about stepping into that meditative state of mind immediately gives me this sense of disenchantment with my suffering, with my complicatedness. It feels good to even think about meditating. Today we will have the opportunity to have some Dharma discussion, some Q&A. I have a short reading I'd like to share with the group to bring up some inspiration. And in a few hours this evening here in Italy, we will also have a guided Buddhist meditation practice with the meditators and the volunteers at the center here in Tabarwa, South Italy. So allow me to share this short reading here before we really open up the space. So this teaching here is talking about if we get the meaning of the principle that everything is right here and right now, that the ultimate reality, the truth is here and now. Our freedom, our entrapment, our good action leading to good effect, or our bad action leading to bad effect, it is here in this moment. It couldn't be anywhere else, right? And this is a little bit difficult to get a grasp of or to digest, but it's clearly true that this is it. This is where our life is. This is that moment. And if we start to understand that, it may be interesting to look at different topics, different ideas, different points of focus, and how certain statements can have multiple meanings, multiple types of understanding. But if we can realize this ultimate principle or this fundamental principle about the nature of reality, the right here, the right now, the inseparability of all phenomena, all apparent separate self-entities, if we can realize, if we can recognize the impermanence of whatever arises, whatever we go through, that it is fundamentally impermanent, it's fundamentally changing all the time, then we can comprehend everything. We can see through everything. If we understand that the nature of everything is like the nature of the sky, in that it is clear, it is open, it is wide, even though many storms come and go, but that the nature of the sky is wide open in this way, then whatever storm comes across, whatever cloudiness of the day is there, we aren't confused by that. We aren't trapped by that apparent reality because we have pierced through appearances. If one gets the meaning of this, then whatever statement one hears, one can comprehend all statements. All statements and all principles without any hindrance, without any need for secondary thinking. We can see through it immediately to the truth. It is difficult to understand the meaning of multiple understandings of one statement. It may be further explained in terms of the treatise or the teachings on the center, when it says, phenomena produced by causal conditions, I say, are empty. So phenomena or experiences, happenings, cases, situations that appear according to causal conditions, right? Because a tree doesn't appear in space. A tree appears with the soil and the sunlight and the water and everything. So when it says phenomena produced by causal conditions, I say, are empty, since it says produced by causal conditions, how can they be empty just like that? So if these phenomena come about, if these situations, if these experiences come about because of conditions, right? Cause and effect, environmental factors, etc., then how can we say they are empty? It is necessary to analyze the causal conditions thoroughly, and only then does one finally comprehend emptiness. And so this is why we practice meditation, because we are analyzing all of this cause and effect. We are analyzing the conditions that lead us to suffer, that lead us to be confused, that lead us to be anxious or angry or greedy or, having these non-practical, complicated thoughts, these negative thoughts. Ultimately empty is here expressed as are empty. As for this is also called artificial description, that which is compounded is powerless and does not stand alone. Right? This is the strong point or the essential point. Whatever comes together according to cause and conditions, according to causality, right? It does not stand alone. It does not have any self-nature. It doesn't have any independent power. Its power is according to the causes and conditions. The causes and conditions which are fundamentally impermanent, fundamentally changing. And we have to understand the nature of these habit energies, the nature of these states that we go through so that they don't delude us further and further. We see that they don't have any independent power of themselves. They don't represent and are not separate self-entities. So when we feel anxious, it doesn't mean that there is an I that feels anxious, but rather cause and conditions are coming together, and so anxiousness is appearing. And if we examine those causes and conditions that are coming together at that moment, we can disidentify from the I and we can stop that attachment or those grasping onto these causal conditions. Right? It could be as simple as we are sitting in meditation and our body starts to feel, we've been sitting for quite a while, and so we start to feel pain in the body, and then there's a corresponding reactivity in the mind where we say, oh, I can't meditate, I'm not a good meditator, or I'm suffering, I'm anxious, etc. So at that moment, rather than being defined by or controlled by this I identification with the power of anxiety or the power of this phenomena, we recognize that it's coming together because of particular causes and conditions. So we move our body a little bit. We don't give up meditating. We don't kind of bow towards anxiety or bow towards depression or bow towards this I identification that has come up, this kind of created experience, but rather we move our body a little bit. We change those causes and conditions so that we can continue examining our true nature or our direct experience, so that we can notice the impermanence, the no self in this moment by moment experience. That which is compounded is powerless and does not stand alone. It depends on many conditions for existence. So why identify with it? It's like seeing a tree outside and then being afraid of it, being worried about it, or falling in love with a tree, etc. It doesn't have any independent power. That tree is simply an expression of cause and conditions. That tree is simply an expression of everything, that which cannot be grasped, everything which is already not everything. It cannot be grasped. So why fall in love with the tree? That is just our delusion mind, our greedy mind, our desire mind. So it depends on many conditions for its existence. It is artificial because of depending on conditions. It is artificial because of depending on conditions. It is temporary. It is not existing on its own because it depends on all these different conditions. All things are themselves empty, having no self. The conditional, too, is empty, being conditional setups. So it's like dominoes. Everything is depending on everything else. So you can't set up anything as being separate in some way. There's a knock on the door here. So we experience this body. We experience the heart beating. We experience the seeing faculty, the hearing faculty, the breathing faculty. And these are the points for not for our thinking, not for our analysis, at least in terms of meditation, but these are the points for our kind centration, especially when we're sitting still. So when we're in movement or when we are doing activity, not so much concentration, deep concentration can be developed at that time. We should prioritize to be mindful, just aware moment by moment of what's happening, step by step, coming back to aware of what's happening right now. And using this coming back to kind of clear the air, to clear the space from this dwelling on negative thinking or dwelling on negative states of mind, right? To keep from poisoning ourselves, we return back to the source of our present experience in whatever way that might be. Even if we feel uncomfortable, even if we feel comfortable, returning back to the source of our present experience. And this experience or this way of being with the current present experience, even if it's a little bit difficult, even if it's a little bit strong feeling, it allows us to directly take care and cultivate the mind that deals with suffering, that embraces suffering, that takes care of suffering, rather than tries to avoid it or make a joke about it. But we face it, we be with it, and that's how we develop this skill of a healthy mind states, healthy way of thinking, healthy way of dealing with anxiety, healthy way of dealing with depression or other difficulties that come up in the mind. So it's not very complicated, but unless you practice it, you will regress again and again to this analytical perspective, thinking about things, trying to figure things out, complicating unnecessarily the direct experience. So the complications that we need to progress on the path are presented by the Buddha. Dana, Sila, Bhavana. Doing good deeds, doing actions of generosity. Following precept, living a virtuous life. Not so complicated. And practicing cultivation, cultivating our concentration, cultivating our loving friendliness, our loving kindness, cultivating our relaxation, but relaxation that's not based on consumption, relaxation that comes from embracing our heart, embracing our breathing, embracing the present moment experience, whatever that may be. And sometimes it's very difficult, very intense. All the more reason when it's not so difficult, when it's not so intense, when we have a generally relaxed and open state of mind to do what? To do good deeds, to do meritorious actions, to do actions of generosity, to remember your precepts, to remember mindfulness, to remember the cultivation of your deepening the relationship that you have with your breathing. Settling yourself, settling your life, not on what you think about, but on this base of awareness. Okay, please feel free to ask your questions. Or bring up any topic if you'd like to discuss a particular topic. Oh, I may not be able to hear. Hold on, Kara. No, it's on my end. Go ahead, try again. Oh, I still can't hear, huh? Let me try to fix this on my end here. Hold on. Okay, so give it another try. I think I should be able to hear you now. Yeah, I can hear you now, Kara.
That happened, and I believe in sort of signs. Yeah. The question
Well,
was about the feeling of duty that is fighting with the feeling of detachment. Like I would love to have detachment, but the duty pulls me back into taking care of the family members that depend on me, like mother, grandmother, sister, all her kids, and stuff like that.
how does it cause a difficulty for you?
I dream of going away and traveling, and I can't.
Well, this is a kind of desire, you know, and detachment is not desire, not meeting our desire. In that case, because you are aware you have this desire to go and travel and have these different experiences, you can detach from that. You can abandon that. You can put that down. Because the cultivation, the dana, the sila, doing good deeds, following precept, practicing meditation seriously, and cultivating this dispassion or this detachment with the um, mental and physical phenomena, we don't need to go anywhere to do that. We don't. It doesn't need to be done in any particular way concerned with certain people or certain situations or certain places. The real detachment is a detachment from those notions, those ideas about people, places, even better or worse. The mind can be very tricky. That oh, I can't practice seriously here. I have to wait until I become a monk and I live on a mountain, or I have to wait until I take care of this responsibility or I take care of this. But we can practice mindfulness in this moment and in any moment that we will experience. We can recollect, we can remember to be mindful. And the more serious we get about the practice, the more powerful we will be, the more insight we will have about what really is the right thing to do, that doesn't reject anything, doesn't reject responsibility, or doesn't reject opportunity, but going in that middle path, right? That's not black or white. Like, I need to go and do this, or I won't be free, or I won't be happy, or I won't be successful, or I can't do this, or I did this and now I can't be free, I can't be happy, I can't love myself. So always bringing it back to that grounding point, bringing it back to the present, bringing it back to the mindfulness of breathing or a mantra. In the Theravada Buddhism, many of the popular schools now in Thailand, they teaching about the Buddho meditation method. So whenever your mind is scattered, or when we're worrying about things, when we're having a lot of thoughts, especially stressful thoughts or difficulty thoughts, we are tiring ourselves out. We're using our energy, right? So someone who has that tendency towards anxiety or depression or a lot of anger, a lot of complicated thinking, they'll be quite tired. They'll really exhaust themselves. So when we notice that that is taking place, we come back to the mantra. We come back to Buddho. Buddho, just repeating Buddho in our mind. Or we come back to our breathing. And it's a real refuge. It's like if we were in a stormy ocean and we were twisting and turning and really having a tough time in this difficult ocean. And then if a raft or an island could just appear that we could hang on to, and our mindfulness is like that, wherever we happen to be. Yes, some conditions, some environments are more suitable, but if you have that balance point, if you have that somewhat comfortable, stable environment, you use that to practice more and more seriously, and then you will get the answer for your problem. And in the meantime, as you want to get the answer to your problem, you will be developing more insight, more deeper understanding, deeper seeing, so that the mind cannot trick you so often. That's our problem, right? One of my teachers, a Vietnamese monk from the Truk Lam tradition, he posted on his Facebook recently and said, there is no greater danger or no greater enemy to you possible than your own mind. Your mind is the uncontrolled mind, right? The unregulated mind. That can be the greatest danger for you. That can cause us the greatest suffering. There's the usual saying like the definition of insanity, or let's say the definition of being unskillful, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
That's beautiful. I like that quote. It was, there is no enemy greater than your mind and body. There is no ally greater than your mind and body.
So you've got to empower this cutting faculty, this finishing faculty, this resolution faculty, right? And that's a concentration, that's our mindfulness. We cut, we finish, we end, we resolve. Not through thinking, not through relying on the environment to go a particular way, but through our own practice. No debate, no discussion, no figuring out. We just resolve it precisely at that moment. Come back to our breathing, or come back to Buddha, or come back to doing good deeds. So I see we have a question here, and everyone is welcome to ask questions who's following along. We have a question from Richard. And Richard, do you have a microphone? Can you speak up? Okay, maybe not. How to get rid of the feeling of wanting to sleep when meditating? Well, have some tea, meditate at different times of the day. But meditation is all about consistency. So we never get stuck on one particular issue that we're having at a particular time in meditation. That's meditation. Feeling sleepy when you're practicing meditation is meditation. Feeling anxious, these thoughts come up, maybe even visions could come up, all kinds of different things. They happen, and then we return to the act of mindfulness. We return to the act of following our breathing. And if it's really serious, I would say two approaches. One is you can try to like penetrate. I've had some success with this, like penetrate into that sleepiness. Don't try to fight the sleepiness, but try to enter into the sleepiness with your awareness, with your attention, with your clear mind. I'd be with that sleepiness fully. And maybe you'll fall asleep when you do that, but maybe you'll break through that sleepiness as well. And the other side is a little bit more practical. If you're practicing meditation sitting down, stand up. And, stand up, stand still, continue your practice. You can even do some walking meditation, and it will help. It will help. But consistency is the key. So there's no like 40-minute guided meditation that's going to make us be enlightened or give us a special power or solve all of our problems for us. It's the continuous practice. It's coming back to it again and again. Firstly, maybe week by week or month by month, and then day by day, and then moment by moment. We come back to that meditation mind, that way of mindfulness, that way of returning, that way of being here, wherever here happens to be. And of course, here is not a story. Seeing is not a story, and it's right here. It's storyless, isn't it? Was seeing created by a story? Is seeing, the colors, the light, the darkness, the different forms, is that a story? So what it means is that there's a access point in our normal everyday experience in this moment that is a source of joy and happiness, but also a source of freedom from these complicated narratives that we get quite bogged down in and we waste our energy in. In hearing, just hearing. In seeing, just the seeing. In breathing, just the breathing. Directly and immediately, not as a philosophy. And the more we practice that, the more we will have an affinity towards that storylessness that the seeing immediately shows us, or the hearing immediately shows us, or the breathing immediately shows us. So that our insight, our wisdom, our heart understanding, our relationship with truth will start to define our life, how we live our life. We will remember more. We should remember more from whatever position we're in, right? We remember the impermanence of all phenomena. We remember the lack of separation, the interbeing of everything. We remember that chasing after our desires won't give us freedom. And then as we practice dana, sila, bhavana, this cultivation, we experientially, our perspective will shift, our mind will shift. We will attain insight. We will develop insight, so that, like a master swordsman is not taken over by the middling swords people, or a master swordswoman is not concerned with the middling swordswomen, right? So also, the more wisdom we have, we will be free from many sufferings related to the conditions we find ourselves in. It's too hot, it's too cold, no problem. Impermanence. No self. No someone to be burdened and drowning in heat or cold, etc. Practice, 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 practice. It's like a boxing match. You know, you might have the best philosophy in the world about boxing, but when you're in there, you've got to get to it. You've got to move. You've got to get involved. You feel sick, you feel tired, you did good, you did bad, good effect, bad effect. Step into the moves. Step into the groove of the Dhamma. We are not likely to have success alone, using our own understanding or using our own resources or using our own personal philosophy. So taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, it means we rely on, we are ready to use the power of the wise ones. And why wouldn't there be wise ones, you know? This is one of these unique differences between the Western culture, Western is very vague, but like American culture and Thai culture, for example. In Thai culture, in American culture, there are celebrities, there are wealthy people in Thailand that even have royalty. You know, there are artists, there are fighters, right? Muay Thai. And these people have a high status and they have a lot of support, right? Maybe they are wealthy, they live in nice places, etc. And when they drive around or the places they go, the people they surround themselves with, they kind of express their status, right? They're like a protected part of our society. The wealthy people, the entertainers, the fighters, you know, kind of another form of entertainment. Even the scientists or the intellectuals, right? In America, in Thailand, these are respected people. They have a high status, a high position. But in Thailand, those who have wisdom, insight, virtue, those who take refuge in the incredibleness, the truthfulness, the practicality of Buddhism, and have attained deep stages of awakening, deep insights, they are revered. They are protected. They are supported in all kinds of ways to reaffirm, to firm up this continuation of the Buddha Dharma, of the Dharma, right? Of the teachings leading to the end of suffering. And you have to come and see for yourself. You have to try, you have to practice, get experience, and then you'll know if that's true or not. But we can't, for me, I don't want to live in a world where I'm just kind of hanging out and going by my own ideas, my own understanding, and saying, hey, well, I've got a couple bucks in my pocket and I can eat a cheeseburger. So, Buddhism seems interesting, but I don't need that kind of stuff. Don't we? Don't we need truth? Don't we need teachings? Don't we need guidance on how to be wise, on how to transform our mind to become more powerful, so that we may be more skillful in taking care of problems, in helping other people, in forming communities, in taking care of those who may not be able to take care of themselves? So we take refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, and we get back as much as we give. If you give everything, if you give up your life, you will get back your life. And if we want to become enlightened or take it to this level of depth, we have to be ready to face death. We have to be ready to and experience facing sickness and old age and disaster. And when facing that, when experiencing that, to be at peace, to not be affected, to not be controlled by conditions, but to be beyond conditionality. Any questions? A lot of our success or failure, a lot of how our mind is going to be, depends on the environment that we're in. So make use of your environment to practice. Make use of your environment to do good deeds, to be generous. And if it is an untenable situation, you have to know how to, step by step, not in an unstable way, but seek out an environment that is more conducive to practice, more conducive to freedom. like a person living in a village or living nearby a well that has gone sour. Yeah, you can still drink it. It's still hydrating you, but it's making you sick. So it's just common sense. We know how to leave. We know how to abandon that well, that area. And a lot of how we work to accept the human situation, because the human situation, sickness, old age, and death, the situation of suffering, the situation of the suffering of gain and of loss, right? We get what we want, and then, it's temporary. We lose things, and then we suffer. So that situation is already there. It's a natural, it's our human condition. So when we stop and when we practice meditation, we become more clearly aware of this condition that we're in. We become more keenly, more acutely aware of what the mind is like. Not this appearance, not this kind of, we make deals with ourselves or our mind or our environment, but you confront it, you face it, you experience it, so that you know your mind, you know the situation better than anyone else. But not in this way of building up ego, but actually by decoupling from the ego, by entering into a place of stillness and concentration to penetrate the mind, to know for oneself, to see for oneself what the situation is. And the dana and sila, or doing good deeds and following precept, being mindful, this is also like to listen to Dhamma talk, to listen to guided meditations. And it's one of the best aspects of our community, right? The Monk Life meditation community on Discord is that we have these resources available. If you go to the website, you will see recommended teachers, guided meditations recommended, etc. And so you nourish your freedom mind, your fearless mind. There are people out there that are so free, so wise, so compassionate, so complete in their way. And we are like children. We are not too sure. Maybe we are doing the right thing, but it is not complete, right? So we listen to them. We take guidance from them, our elders, our teachers, our masters. That's what I do. And someone who's really concerned with the path, the way, and understands that Buddhism is the gold standard of spirituality, the gold standard of enlightenment, maintained 2,600 years since the time of the Buddha, then we listen to Dhamma teachers, we listen to the monks and the nuns, we seek them out, we keep looking, we keep investigating, so that instead of listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, we listen to a Dhamma talk from Ajahn Suchart, or Ajahn Sumedho, or Bhikkhu Sujato, or Ajahn Brahm, or Thich Nhat Hanh, or Master Yong Hua, or Lumpal from Rambodhi Dham in Thailand, or Sayadaw Otamasara. So there's a lot of resources out there, and we have to come into these kind of environments, right? And this is a blessed environment. I'm honored to be someone who's helped to build this space, okay, where we feel that inspiration, we feel that faith, we feel that intimacy and that immediacy of our lives, so that we don't keep going down the wrong path, even when we know it doesn't work. Like with overeating, right? You always, I'm hungry, then you overeat, then you don't feel so good, you don't get enlightened. Well, why do you do that again and again and again? Or whatever it might be with drugs or alcohol or unskillful speech. killing bugs and things like that. Why are you doing that? How do we feel when we do good? We feel good. How do we feel when we do bad? We feel bad. So what do you want to do? Good or bad? So you do it. You get involved with it seriously. And in that way, you begin to free yourself more and more. You set up the path for others who are like you, who may be more lost than you, to also free themselves, to become a facilitator of your own right, to become a translator of your own right. Unskillful speech is speaking harshly, so speaking roughly, speaking with an intent to cause harm to someone or like berate them. It is lying, so not being honest, not being wholehearted in your speech, being intentionally to trick or to take advantage, not being open with your speech. And finally, it's chit-chat. Chit-chat, talking about politics, talking about sports, talking about this nonsense in an unregulated way, in an uncareful way, in an uncontemplative way. And you will see it. You will see it. Wasted speech. Yeah, when you are more mindful and you listen to Dhamma talks more often, what you don't want to talk about random things with people, you know? And that's probably one of my good point. I have a lot of bad point as a, as a monk and someone who's trying to be on the way completely. But one of my good point is that I don't like to talk about random things. I don't like to chit chat with people. And sometimes maybe another monk or um, someone we may just talk and about things, but it's got to be about the Dhamma. It's got to be about helping people. It's got to be about something practical. That's it. Otherwise, what do I want to debate about politics for? What do I want to debate about philosophy for? Okay, great question here. Nicholas, can you use your microphone? Can you share? That would be good. Maybe give it a try. Not yet. Not quite yet. That's okay. Okay, so Nicholas says, Bhante, I suffer from deep depression with anxiety, as well as a number of very unpleasant physical symptoms. I have been practicing meditation for almost a year, but I still feel this aversion and a kind of despair and panic in the face of all these symptoms. My desire would be to detach myself from these feelings. Is it a trap to want this? Any guidance would be welcome. No, because this is the desire to become enlightened. This is the desire to end suffering. And so, what are you going to do with this desire? Doing meritorious actions more and more, following precepts more and more, being mindful more and more, practicing cultivation more and more. Isn't it? So this is not a problem. Sometimes people say, "Oh, I gotcha. You're a Buddhist, you're a monk, but you want to be a monk or you want to become enlightened." It's not about that. That's just static. The Dhamma is not about static. It's about practice and cultivation and continuing. It's about sacrifice. It's about renunciation. Remember the story of the well. If your well is poisoned, you need to look at that. You need to consider that. People are so much stronger than they think they are, but they've been drinking from a poisoned well for so long. And what's that poison of that well? Is it some mysterious or negative spirit? No, it's just cause and conditions. Certain causes and conditions bring about health and wealth and empowerment and encouragement. They bring about the Dhamma. Certain causes and conditions, they bring about not strength, difficulty, sinking, dwelling. Now, if we practice sincerely and if we practice consistently as best we can, we will be more ready to receive the Dhamma from teachers, right? The more that we do good deeds, the more ready, the more powerful we will be to do all kinds of good deeds. The more that we follow precepts, the more ready, the more powerful we will be to follow more precepts or to follow more closely. The more that we practice mindfulness, the more ready and powerful we will be to practice mindfulness more and more. This works because just like the body, right? If you don't take care of your body, it gets sick. And that not taking care is not a blame, it's just cause and conditions. We arrived here. I have arrived here. Where was I yesterday? Where was I a year ago? I don't know. And what I do know is just my idea about that. It's not the reality. And sometimes in life, you don't get a chance to bop around and think about it or pull something out of your hat. It's just like this. This is reality. This is life. So those causes and conditions may make us sick. We find sickness to be coming about. And yes, we need to face that and transform it and be okay that we have difficulty, not beat ourselves up, not get into this cyclic mind of negativity, but we notice it and we breathe with it and we heal it with our attention. And then as we get a little bit stronger, okay, as we get a little bit more balanced, the sky's the limit. The Sangha is here. You want to be a yogi, you want to be a volunteer, you want to be a long-term meditator, you want to be a monk or a nun or something like that. Why not? The opportunity is big. It's not just to feel a little bit more pleasure. The opportunity is to become enlightened. The opportunity is to become free. And we should feel sensitive about it. We should feel like, whoa, this is a little bit weird. What's going on? Because it is. It is a little bit strange. Hey, everybody, come and live for the rest of your life with Buddhist monks and nuns tomorrow, in a few months from now, what have you, as a volunteer, as a meditator, as a monk or a nun. This is the power of the Sangha. There's no subscription, there's no buying anything, you just come and you live your life and you will be supported. Supported by what? Supported by dana, sila, samadhi, panya. You'll be supported by doing good deeds. You'll be supported by following precept. You'll be supported by the action of mindfulness. You'll be supported by the cultivation, the bhavana, not only of yourself, but of the community. And not only the community that is alive now, but the community going back 2,600 years. We have to see that this attachment, this grasping, don't be ashamed of yourself. Don't beat yourself up. It's an open door. It's an open heart. It's love. It's going for a walk. It's that child inside of you that is blameless and innocent and free, right? We get into a temper tantrum. We get upset. Our toy broke. And then our loving father, the Buddha, or what have you, our dear uncle, our dear friend, takes us by the hand as we are that beloved child, and we go for a walk in nature together. Clear out the air, clear out the cobwebs, right? So it's not running away from anything, but it's opening ourselves up to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, and realizing that this is the age of that. Okay, Nico, this is the age of that. These opportunities are here. And that attachment, that grasping, right, that holding on to, it's not about good and bad. It's not about pleasure and pain. If it was about pleasure and pain, then you would attach to pleasure, you would attach to feeling good, and then you would not do things that make you feel bad. You wouldn't do things that make you feel bad if it was about actually that you want pleasure and you want to avoid pain. It is this wrong view. It is the wrong action of grasping itself. This is what we must deal with. This is what we must free up. And the way to free it up is you don't need to think about it. You are not the Buddha. You are not the spiritually enlightened one. You are not the king of the universe or queen of the universe or non-binary bodhisattva of all ages. You don't need to think about it. Just practice. And through practicing, you develop, well, first you have to have a little trust. Who's this guy wearing a robe? Well, I don't know. Does he seem okay? Does he seem nice enough? All right. Well then, and who's this Buddha? Who's this Buddha guy? It seems nice enough, seems reasonable enough. So you have a little bit of trust, a little bit of openness, and then you practice. And you see, how does your mind change? How does your life change? How does your relationship with other people change when you start to do more good deeds? When you start to prioritize generosity? When you start to prioritize following precepts? Does it work or doesn't it? And if it works, now you can have this informed trust, and faith can grow out of that. And then you walk the plank. Walk the plank to enlightenment, and I'll hold the sword. Many monks and nuns, the Sangha will hold the sword for you. Community will hold the sword for you. This is the sword of wisdom. And it is encrusted with lotus flowers of sapphire, ruby, emerald. The lotus flowers of compassion. It is the real deal, and it's free. It's free to give, it's free to receive, it's free to sacrifice, it's free to transform. There is no cost, there is no price, there is no transaction in it. What is the price of freedom? Let's leave it at that for today. Okay? Thank you, dear Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And we will have our group meditation a guided group meditation at 7 p.m. Italy time. That's about 4 hours. 4 hours from now. And that will be live from our meditation center here in southern Italy. It'll be in the meditation hall. So that will just be streamed live on YouTube. So if you want to join for that, join us on YouTube, okay? Take care, everyone. Be happy. Be friendly. Be peaceful. Thank you.